Now, when we come into in competition, when you're competing, there's not much you can do because you have to have build your foundation back then. So in competition, we do very little work. And now, like for me, I'm just coming from Europe. I've done 3 races in Europe within a span of 1 week. So
There's no politics, no nothing. It's all about sports. And this hour, of course, we'll be talking to the ninth fastest man of all time, Ferdinand OMANYALA. Now, OMANYALA will be talking about his Diamond League race tomorrow in Eugene, Oregon. He will also talk about his journey from being a rugby player onto the track. Now, feel free to tell us where you are tuned in from in the comment section, especially if you're in Eugene, Oregon. We know a number of Kenyans have already gone there to see OMANYALA. And I'm your co-host and producer, Ali Badawi. It's Friday, the 15th of September, and we're streaming live from Kilimanjaro Studios outside Washington, D.C. Now, please remember to subscribe to our OneMicShow YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at OneMicShow. And on panel with me tonight, Kamakawa is Mr. OneMic himself. Our sport anchor Mika Och will be joining us via Zoom. Our resident DJ Omoshfire is live on the decks already and at Roga hapa. And also not forgetting super producer Mubelwa Bandio. And then I also want to welcome all the listeners on board. I can already see David Wagura yuko ndani, Eshirandula Chief Louis yuko ndani, Makarena Mo yuko ndani, Sleo Dwar kama kawaida yuko pale ndani, karibuni sana. I can see Salishiro already in the building. I can see Mukurima pale. I can see Tabitha Njeri. So we have a full house tonight. And I want to thank Eshirandula Chief Louis for making this interview happen. So Eshirandula anajua unasikiza. I want to thank you so much for making this possible.
Ati, what's his name again?
Eshirandula Chief Louis. There's only one Chief Louis. And we want to thank him so much. But we're going to be talking to him later on the show. But we want to get started right away because people have been so eager for this interview and people are waiting. And we want to just get started right away because people want to talk to OMANYALA. Now, we already know that Kenya has been an athletic powerhouse on the global scene for over half a century. And we've racked up tons of medals in middle and long distance races over the years. We, however, watched the short distance sprints on the sidelines and never imagined ever making the podium in international competition. This was until a previously unknown young man from the foothills of Mount Elgon burst into the scene like a swift and dramatic thunderclap. On the show tonight, we are hosting a man who shifted the axis at which the Kenyan earth rotated, who goes by the name Ferdinand OMANYALA. Now, OMANYALA started his journey on the track back in 2017 and started obliterating several long-standing Kenyan records in the short distance sprints. He went on to qualify for the 2021 Olympic Games in Tokyo, Japan, and narrowly missed the 100 meters finals. OMANYALA in the same year competed at the World Indoor Championships in Belgrade, Serbia, and made the 60-meter semifinals. And in 2022 in St. Pierre, Mauritius, Ferdinand OMANYALA was crowned the undisputed African champion after crossing the line ahead of South African Fino Makani Simbine. He then went on and made the semifinals of the World Championships in Eugene, Oregon. That was 2022. And still in 2022, OMANYALA won the 100 meters gold medal in the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, UK. And he more recently made the finals in the just concluded Budapest World Championships. There's another competition that he won after that. I came to learn about that. He'll tell us about that later. And also not forgetting that OMANYALA clocked the 9th fastest time of all time in 100 meters at 9.77 seconds on September 18th of 2021 at the Kipkeino Classic at Nairobi's Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani. He is currently in the US and scheduled to suit up tomorrow, Saturday the 16th, for a 100-meter race at 1:07 p.m. Pacific time. That's 4:07 p.m. Eastern time at the Diamond League leg in Eugene, Oregon's Prefontaine Classic. Ferdinand OMANYALA, the man, the myth, the legend. Welcome to the One Mic Show, and tell us how you're doing today.
Thank you very much, guys, for having me here today. I mean, I'm blessed to be here. I've been in Oregon for like the last 5 days. And man, the love I've been shown up. It's been crazy. Like, I've been fed. We've had a lot of food. We're still eating and eating, but that won't affect tomorrow, I guess.
Okay. Now, we know it's not your first time in Eugene, Oregon. Actually, the last time that you were there, there was some drama surrounding your entry into the city. But before we get there, let's put that aside. I want you to tell us, exactly when you got there. And you've already started telling us how your experience was. You said that there's all kinds of food. Were these like pizzas, burgers, lasagna? What kind of foods are we talking about?
Fried
Omanyala?
chicken.
Yeah.
Merenda. Homodo. Osuga.
Exactly. That's what you're talking about. Like home food. The Kenyans have been greatly. They came through for me.
So are you saying there's a Kenyan restaurant there, or just regular Kenyans from around there started feeding you?
Kuna mluya na sukuma ugali huko.
There's this one guy, anaitwa Louis, by the way, amefanya big things, maze.
Yes,
like I met him in Atlanta sometime back this year, and he's done a great job mobilizing the Kenyans that are around here to bring us food, and we've been enjoying it.
Eshirandula Chief Louis, and he's also the one who made this interview possible. So asante sana, and I know he's tuned in and atusikiza. He has a very big heart.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yes, so thank you so much. And I know, like there's Kenyans who are now, like driving down.
Huyo ni kazini yangu kwanza before
pole mika banduba.
Okay, cousin Eshirandula Chief Louis. But Louis, asante sana. We appreciate what you're doing, and of course Omanyala here is very, very appreciative. And then I want to see. I see everybody's cut is already in. I can see Sleodwar Mukurima anasema tuko ndani, Chief Louis yuko ndani, Makarena Mo anatusikiza kutoka Texas, Washekindi Rangu is in the building. I can see Terrace K. Afro-Jamaican, is he here? He said he was going to be a bit late today.
He's on YouTube.
Okay. Yep. All right. And there's people
Nia
on YouTube already.
On YouTube. Usiwaze, I don't know who Usiwaze is, lakini karibu Usiwaze.
Okay, all right. We welcome, and make sure you share this stream so that all the Kenyans can get a chance to not only listen to Omanyala, but also have a chance to talk to him. And I want to remind the callers that the number to call is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. We're going to be checking to see if anyone is calling, anyone who wants to talk to Omanyala. We're going to be right here, and he'll be here to answer your questions. I want to remind the listeners also just joining us that you're tuned into the One Mic Show, and I'm your co-host and producer, Ali Badawi. Our guest tonight is Africa's 100 meters champion, Ferdinand Omanyala. He's scheduled to suit up tomorrow, Saturday the 16th, for a 100-meter race at 1:07 p.m. Pacific time, 4:07 p.m. Eastern time. I know watu Central time wanasema wameachwa. That's going to be 3:07 p.m. Central time at the Diamond League leg in Eugene, Oregon's Prefontaine Classic. Now this race will feature American world champion Noah Lyles and Botswana's Letsile Tebogo. It will be aired live on NBC Sports, so mark your calendars for that. For those who are not in Eugene, Oregon, and the Wonder Diamond League YouTube page. I don't know whether it's going to be live in the US, but I know the Diamond League page sometimes streams these races live. So check out Wonder Diamond League on YouTube if you're one of those people who doesn't have cable. And word has it that a number of Kenyans from Portland, Oregon and Seattle, Washington have made their way down to Eugene to see Omanyala in action at the Prefontaine Classic. Now later in the show, Mika, our sports anchor, will be asking Omanyala about race day preparation, so want you to stay tuned for that. But before we continue, Uno Mike, there is a collaboration that the One Mic Show recently signed up with Bora Lounge. Please tell Omanyala about it because it might be of interest to him. Uno Mike.
Should I tell him or Mika should? Before I get eaten.
Okay, let Mika. Mika, go ahead.
No, let Uno get ahead and do it today.
Okay. Aya, sawa umepatiwa ruhusa na sports anchor.
Nimepatiwa ruhusa.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a collaboration going on with Bora Lounge, Bora Lounge. It's a virtual twende study. So the Rugby World Cups have already started. They started last week. Started off with a bang, New Zealand, France. So this weekend we have games. We had games today, Friday, 3 p.m. So tomorrow Saturday and Sunday. BoraLounge.com. BoraLounge.com. Virtual study for those who cannot make it to go to France. People who are not going to, who had bought tickets but were unavailable or unable to because they had to get married boralounge.com. Ingia huko, mwingieni huko, tuingie huko virtual study. Big up to Agura and big up to Otieno V for setting it up. Musiseme amukuambiwa, or as Ali says, musingoje kusimuliwa.
Yeah, usingoje kusimuliwa. Hii si hadithi ya pakawa.
Umewambia pia kutakuwa na hiyo mbio itakuwa kwa hiyo Bora.
And mbio pia itakuwa hapo Bora Lounge. So you have rugby, you have got the man, the myth, the legend, Ferdinand, Ferdi, hapo Oregon. Msingoje kusimuliwa. Tafadhali ya
msingoje kusimuliwa.
Mutigeterere please.
Yes. Na nawakumbusha tena, hii si hadithi ya paukwa pakawa na wala siye kaza Abunuwasi. So 1:07 p.m. Pacific time, 4:07 p.m. Eastern time, and 3:07 p.m. Central time, watu wa Texas. So make sure you're tuned in tomorrow. Now, I want to go back to Omanyala, and we know that you burst into the Kenyan athletic scene like a mysterious thunderclap. Most of us didn't know who Omanyala was prior to 2017. And I want us to get started from the very beginning, because right now you're on top of the world, but want to go back to the very beginnings. And please take us back to where you were born and raised, and maybe walk us through to when you first started noticing that you have some speedy feet. Omanyala.
Yeah. I remember I was born and I was born in a place called Hamisi in Vihiga County. After that, I moved out. We moved out when I was still a small guy, I think 6 or 5 months, and then we went to settle in a place called Tongareni. Tongareni is in Bungoma now, Bungoma County. So that's where I grew up, and I grew up in a family setting that has a normal family setting where, father, mother. I have 4 brothers, the only brothers at our place. So we are 5 brothers in our family. So we grew up in that setting. And my dad was a guy who really loves books, and he really wanted his sons to go through school education and get jobs and, proceed with life. That was what my parents really looked out for us. And that's how it was growing up. We had even a library at the back of our house, so everybody had his own desk.
Wow.
So when you come from school, you do school homework, and then you do your father's homework. So you have 2 homeworks to do. And we will prefer to finish our father's homework even before the school homework, because my dad was that person who really wanted us to really do good in school, and he was giving us books of the next class. If you're in class 1, you bought a textbook for class 2.
Wow.
So that means you have to read ahead, and the homework that he gives you is for the next class. So that's how it was. And I didn't realize that he really helped us then, but now I realize that he really helped us, because now going into the outside world and the interactions that you're having, all said and done, I went through fast forward. I went to St. Erastus Preparatory, one of the schools in Naitiri. That's the western part of the country. And then I did my class 8 and joined high school, Friends School Kamusinga. That's where I did my high school. And I was there for the normal years of the high school level. And then now in high school is when now things started changing. Because I remember I did my Form 1 and Form 2, and I was an indisciplined boy. Because I remember I got 2 suspensions consecutively in Form 2.
Wow.
I go to school in the morning, evening I was given another suspension.
Oh, yeah.
So the second suspension really made me realize that this is not my parents' life. Because I went home and my dad and my mom were sitting there, and they asked me if I really wanted to go to school. And they gave me so many examples of guys who have really failed in life. And it hit me hard. I realized that I need to just put myself together, and this is not for them, this is for me. So I decided to take back my senses, wherever they were, and just put myself back together and go back to school and work things out. So I went back to school. Remember, it was in August 2012. Went back to school, and I had a meeting with myself. When you have the meeting with yourself, like talking to yourself through the mirror and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I told myself, man, you need to be a man. You're no longer a boy.
Okay.
And looking at where I come from, a very humble background, I wasn't like willing to just. My dad was sacrificing a lot to pay our school fees, and because we were four of us in national school, and there were so much fees going into those schools.
Okay.
And that made me really realize that my dad is doing a lot for us. So that's when I changed, and now I decided to do sports.
Okay, now let's
And,
pause there. Let's
my-
pause there before we get to the sports. We're gonna come to the sporting part.
Yeah.
You mentioned your dad. You know, you mentioned your dad multiple times, and I think one of the things that we discovered, you know, like when we were doing pre-research for this show, is that your dad was also an athlete back in the days. Is that correct? Because I think that's a
Yeah.
part that a lot of people don't know. So, but talk to us about, you know, like your dad, you know, like what kind of athletics was he doing? And was that also a part of the reason why you also picked this up?
No. My dad and my mom both were running. Both were
Okay.
running.
Okay.
My
So you go for
mom,
DNA.
my mom, his brother, who is my uncle,
Mm-hmm.
was also a sprinter.
Okay.
My dad was a sprinter too. He won a couple of races back then, but he was more interested in football. So he was doing a lot of football than athletics.
Okay.
And he really did well. He has shown us his certificates, and he was running 11.2s then. That was like 1980 something. That's
Wow.
the first time then.
Oh wow, yeah, and that was a
Yeah,
very
so
good time back then.
I think I took up that genes from them. And I remember when I was a young kid, my dad could chase me but could not catch me. I remember there's a time I don't know what I did, and there was a big fight with me. Not fight as such, but he was beating me. I was not doing anything to him, of course. So I managed to get off his hands, and I took off, and he chased me down, but he couldn't catch me. Same to my mom. My mom, there's a time I lost some slippers somewhere in the fields and came back home barefoot, and the slippers were like 2 days old. So my mom was angry. She took me and she whipped me badly. But then I said, no, I can't persevere this. So I slipped off her fingers and took off. And she
Kijiko.
couldn't catch me.
Okay.
And what made me come back after the end? She got tired, and she couldn't chase me anymore. But she said, "Wacha tuone utakula wapi sapa." So I
Okay.
had to come back to her fear. But yeah, so I think I got all that talent from them. But I knew I was fast because I was even racing with my brothers and beating them, although they were older than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So that's interesting now, and we're gonna come back to that sporting part. But we know that tomorrow you're going against American world champion Noah Lyles and the Budapest Championship silver medalist Letsile Tebogo from Botswana. So it's a very strong field. I want to bring in our sports anchor on board, Mika Och, who's also a fitness enthusiast. He's gonna tell us more about that. And Mika has a question regarding race day preparation. So Mika, go ahead and talk to Omanyala.
Ali. And thank you, Manyala, for gracing us and saving some time for us today. My question is basically going to, like you see right now, you're here, you're chilling with us. It's 5 heading to 5:30 p.m. Tomorrow you're starting your first races, you have your first heat. Just wanted to get into your mind, how do you get yourself into that game ready situation? How do you shut out everything and just close your mind for those 7 to 10 seconds that you want to run for that race? How do you get there? How do you get your muscles ready to that optimum point that as we usually know, sprinters' muscles are designed to be impactful immediately, unlike other people. Like you played rugby, you are a sprinter, you knew that for wing, I'll probably not catch the ball a lot, but nikishika, that's it. I'm supposed to be, ni mbio mbaya nafaa kuwa natoka. So most of the time you'll find us guys who played will be like, while the pack guys are bashing around, you're just jogging around, you're walking on toes, you're tiptoeing even as you're moving around. So just give us that little insight on how you get yourself to that position from an optimal of today's race day up to the point whereby you finish your race and your recovery for the day 2 races?
Okay, so most of the work that we do in terms of sprinting is done in the off season. The off season is the part where we don't have competitions, like we're going into that in the next 2 months, November, December, January. That's when there's no competition. So that's where the most work is done. Now, when we come into in competition, when you're competing, there's not much you can do because you have to have build your foundation back then. So in competition, we do very little work. And now, like for me, I'm just coming from Europe. I've done 3 races in Europe within a span of 1 week. So we have been using that as training and preparations toward this that's coming tomorrow. And tomorrow there's no hits, there's no semis, there's no finals. It's a straight final race because Diamond League races and all the other races apart from the championships, which mostly we represent the country, that's with Kenyan kits. That's where we do hit, semis, and finals. And there's some other races that also have semis and finals, but very rare. So, like a race like tomorrow, my preparation mostly is today, mostly we're resting. Or if we did something in the morning, it's very little, just to make sure the body is in check and doesn't like sleep too much. So, do that after the training, come back, just chill, and mostly just make your body awake so that you can sleep at night. And then when I wake up tomorrow morning, I'll go and do some bit of mobility and just to meditate on how I'm going to run the race. And then to get to the field, an hour to the race, an hour and 30 to the race, start my warm-up an hour to the race, do my pre-race warm-ups. I don't have anything specific that I always do because sometimes you put your mind into very much specific stuff. Sometimes you might forget it and that affects your mental. So that I don't have any specifics that I do before my races, just make sure that my body is warm and ready to run. So that's what I do, get into the race.
Superstition, hauna favorite socks, favorite underwear.
Ama hiyo huwezi sema.
We Mika, cheza chini.
No, there's no like, I don't have any specific thing that I do before any race because, like I said, sometimes you might forget. You might end up you're forgetting what you always do, and then that affects you mentally. So I don't have any specific thing. The only thing I do is that thing that I do before my races, and just to make sure that that's my identity getting into a race. And that's the only thing I do, but there's no anything specific that I always do before races. So after that, get into the race and make sure the most important thing for me is always get to that finish line the first. And I don't remember any race that I've got out of a race and I've said I regret that race, or apart from Budapest, of course, the semis and the finals. But there's no other race that I've really gotten out and said that I'm really regretting this, or I always want to make sure that I give the best of that race because I enjoy racing. I love racing more than training because, training is tough. I don't like training. Nobody likes training. I don't think there's anybody who likes training. So I hate training. So I love competition. So anytime we're competing, that means our training schedule reduces to like half. We are doing less in training. We're just doing more of mental preparations and just looking at videos and looking at different races. That's what I do. By the way, I do that the night before the competition. Like today night, I'll do a couple of races. I'll watch a couple of races. Of course, I always put in my idol, Johan Blake, who I'm racing with tomorrow.
Mhm.
So I always watch most of his races because he was a beast, this guy. He has run the second fastest time in the 100 and the 200. But of course, I've beaten him in all the encounters we've had. Even tomorrow, I'll beat him. So, but I respect, I respect what he has done before,
Yeah.
and that's why I really look up to him. And I watch his races a lot, especially the 969. So that's what I do a night before. So going tomorrow and doing after the race, obviously, like tomorrow, let's say, let me give a situation like tomorrow. Our season comes to an end. After the race, you throw off those shoes, throw off those kits. You'll you'll not even look for them because I'm an Adidas athlete and every season we're given new kits. So after tomorrow, everything that I'm going to run in, throwing it off. Like
Hey.
I
So-
don't want to see them.
Okay, so hizo
si kuna vile-
hizo weka Chief Louis.
Tunaweka kando.
Chief Louis hizo uweke, unajua tuko hapa.
Okay, all right.
Hizo pea Chief Louis tuta nini upige signature.
Yeah, and real quick before I read some comments here, some people are talking here. There's a bit of chatter here in the comment section, but you talked about Budapest,
Yeah.
the semi-finals,
Budapest.
and the finals. They said that those are races that you would want to forget or you didn't like. So maybe tell us, like what it is that maybe may have happened there that you didn't like, that you're now correcting as you prepare to win tomorrow's race. Omanyala.
Yeah, in Budapest, I know what happened, and that's an in-house. When I say in-house, it's Timo Manyala's in-house.
Okay.
We really know what happened, and we don't really want to have that happen again. Of course, we know what happened because for us, we know what happened, which I don't really want to share on media.
Okay.
And my day one was really perfect. Like my hit was, after my hit, I knew we had it in the bag because I knew nimekimbiza Lyles ka mtoto, so I knew this one we were going to win. So going into day two, my body was just out. And of course, like I said, we know what happened, so that we're going to correct, of which we have started doing that correction. And we don't want that to happen at the Olympics because the Olympics coming next year is bigger. And it was frustrating because I was getting in as the world rank number 1 in 100 meters, and then getting out as number 7 wasn't so good. Okay, so for some people, they see that as an achievement because you have got in the finals, you're among the fastest 8 guys in the world. But for me, that's not me. My target was not to be the 7th fastest guy in the world. I want to be the first. I want to be the best.
Okay.
So that's me, and of course, you are going to correct that as we move forward.
Okay. All right. Good. Now there's a couple of people who
Well,
are already here.
I need 1 minute just on that. Not that I want to get into much into that, but just on that, another question to add up on that race day preparation.
Yeah.
So, as you said, you can prepare everything. You're ready. You're ready. You're set. You're going, and things happen. You can have something happen in your start. You can have something. So, in a situation, let's say you're there, the race starts, and maybe you feel like it should have been a false start, but it wasn't a false start, and the race is on, and that you usually fall back to in terms of in-race management, because I've seen you in races where you had a slow start that you picked up and recovered a lot. So it is something that you just, you're in your zone and you fly.
No, I mean, sport is sport. There's always the bad side, there's always the good side. So you just can't you can't have all perfect races, So there are those races that you get a very bad start. There are those races that you nail the start. So in training, mostly we always train, and sometimes we have false starts in training. And how do you reset back from such a false start or from a false start? Because sometimes the race might have a false start, but there's no recall back. But of course, you don't expect that to happen in big meetings like the Diamond Leagues, the World Champs. But what happens if that happens? You have to put yourself together, don't panic, and just run. So the most important, the biggest thing that I always tell myself before races is don't panic. Because if you panic, you end up you're putting pressure on yourself. You're making your muscles to tighten up. When the muscles tighten up, you're not opening the strides too wide. When you're not opening the strides too wide, you're running slow. So in a race, every time I have a bad start, or anytime I feel like I'm in the pack with the guys at 30 meters, just breathe in and breathe out and let it flow. Because when you do that, you've trained, you believe and trust in your training regime. So that means you've trusted yourself to be in that race. So that means you're going to really make your body run fast. So that's the most important thing. Just relax, and every situation goes on well.
Okay. And now we're getting confident that you're going to win tomorrow's race. Especially there's that American world champion. He calls himself Noah Lyles. I will be so happy see you cross that finish line in front of him, and maybe even turn to the side and look at him. But anyway, that's that.
No, I've done that mistake a couple of times this year. I'm not doing that tomorrow.
Okay, look at him. Look at him after you cross the finish line. Then do that after you cross the finish line.
Yeah, but I'm not going to. I don't think even we'll be together after the finish line because I'll be doing my lap of honor.
Okay, I like that. That's good. Wanna welcome DJ Sunny Sistuki. DJ Sunny Sistuki is in the building. He's watching. And then also Ndiba Wandungi is saying we're here. Karibu sana Ndiba. And then we have Mosinto O Bitange. And he says huyu jamaa anaweza shika swara na mkono. Okay, all right. And then welcome Abesh pia watu wa Texas, karibuni sana. Jodo Mole, DMV, is talking about Wonderwear. I think that's when people were talking about, like a favorite pair of socks or favorite underwear. And then William Alvale says bingwa mwenyewe kesho lazima ailete nyumbani. And Jodo is agreeing with you, Omanyala, and he says training always sucks. Game time is short time. And then Apa, Slayer Nasema throwing it kwa trash. I think she's looking for. I think a lot of people are trying to look for the trash.
I
mean, like, because of course the lucky guy will get the kits, and of course I have so many. We have so many athletes in our camp that we are raising, so the spikes I always give it to them, so at least they can be motivated to just get to those levels.
But
Louis, we sign contract, and then like next year is an Olympic year. We're having new kits. There's no way you'll not see me with the kids that I've run with this year next year.
Oh,
it's done.
Hakuna kuoga na kurudi soko nazo.
Oh, no, we don't do that.
Now Louis anasema hizo kits zikuje Atlanta. I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Akisema inafanyika, unajua.
Okay, alright, haya. Sawa, Louis ikifika Atlanta niwekee ile siku ndakamda zichukua.
Shirandula.
Yeah.
Abandu banje murembe muno.
Yeah. And then Alfred Enga anauliza swali, uliza Waingo if he's ready for indoor 100-meter dash. And I think you've done 60 meters before indoors.
It's no indoor 100 meters. It's only 60 meters.
It's only 60 meters. Okay, so there you get your answer.
That's next year, February. So we are not thinking about next year. We have work to do tomorrow.
Tomorrow. We are thinking about tomorrow. Yeah. And then let me see here. Mukurima says he has a question. And I don't know if he's called. The number to call is 202-683-4570 *5 to speak. This is a rare opportunity to speak to Omanyala. You may never get this again in your life. And then Apa Lawrence Kihanya from the DMV anasema, why is it so hard to get a visa at your level? Aren't there international agreements for athletes like you, like a diplomatic passport of some sort? Now, I was trying to avoid that question, but because...
But we'll just answer it.
Yeah, real quick. And this happened last year in Eugene, Oregon, and you arrived, I think, just a day before.
And there was a lot of hoopla, there was a lot of brouhaha and online furor about that.
Yeah, I really don't know what really happened, and I still don't know, but I don't want to talk about that. But yeah, the government is working on giving us diplomatic passports.
So that'll be amazing.
We are really looking forward to that. Hopefully, before the start of next season, we'll have our diplomatic passports.
Oh, that is nice. Nice. So that means we can JKA unatumia ile VIP section. Not section ya raia.
Now let me say something. I was talking with Lawrence. He was asking me, he was asking that question. I told him, boss, ask. It's a very good question. Ask, because when the roles are reversed, I don't think, and he was giving an example like Pulisic, if he's gonna come to Kenya, Ama Noah Lyles, Ama the guys who came for the
Kano Classic. Yeah.
I don't think there would have been a problem, or there was a problem getting there.
Yeah.
Right. But on the reverse side, and we have seen this, and it always boils our blood that, you're looking at Ferdinand at this level, this stature, having problems getting to the tournament.
Okay.
But if they can come up with something where ni kuingia tu na ni haraka upesi, I think that will be sawa.
Yeah, I think that idea of a diplomatic passport is just super genius.
Yes.
That makes it easy, and there's no issue, when it comes to going competing abroad. Omosh.
Omanyala, karibu. Swali yangu is back on that diplomatic passport thing. Is that something new, or it's something they have done before, or they've realized that there's a need for it because it funguas doors?
I've not had any athlete unless I haven't just asked clearly, but I think there's something new that's coming up.
Okay. All
But
right,
it's going
good.
to be a collaboration between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Sports. So
Okay. All right,
I'm
good.
really looking forward to that.
Yeah, so we are going to follow up on that.
Interesting. Very
And Sleodwar here says, as Kenya, how can we encourage and nurture people who want to get into 100-meter races? Later on in the show, we're going to be talking about this, so stay tuned for that. And then Jojionge hapa anasema baba yao Jojionge karibu sana. And then Mukurima says,
Show them Waluya.
yeah, I know. But now Mukurima is also saying zinaweza enda Baricho.
Anauliza.
It's a question. I also speak Lunje. Humumuhala. I don't even know what that is. But that doesn't sound like Luya. But Mukurima today is claiming to be a Luya. Okay. Yeah, sawa. And then Lawrence Kianya says it's unbelievable. Passport issue has never been implemented. And then Chief Louis says Ababu spoke about the diplomatic passports. It is in the works. So that's very good. And I want to remind all those who are tuned in that you tuned into the One Mic Show, and I'm your co-host and producer, Ali Badawi. Our guest tonight is Africa's 100 meters champion, Ferdinand OMANYALA. He's scheduled to suit up tomorrow, Saturday the 16th, for 100-meter race at 1:07 p.m. Pacific time, 4:07 p.m. Eastern time, 3:07 p.m. Central Time at the Diamond League in Eugene, Oregon's Prefontaine Classic. This race will feature American world champion Noah Lyles and Botswana's Letsile Tebogo. It will be aired live on NBC Sports for those who have cable, and the Wonder Diamond League YouTube page apparently might be showing it. I'm not sure because there are parts of the world where they block it. And of course, like Bora Lounge, which Uno Mike is going to be talking about it shortly. And word has it that a number of Kenyans from Portland, Oregon and Seattle, Washington are making their way down to Eugene to see OMANYALA in action at the Prefontaine Classic tomorrow. Now, later in the show, we will be talking about diet and nutrition. Uno Mike is going to be talking about diet and nutrition. Is going to be talking to OMANYALA about it because that's a very fundamental part for optimal performance. So we want you to stay tuned for that. But before we continue, Uno Mike and Mika again, there's a collaboration the One Mic Show has with Bora Lounge. Please remind again OMANYALA, maybe akwa amesikia vizuri, about what this partnership is about and everybody else who might benefit from this partnership. Uno Mike.
So, the partnership that we have is with Bora Lounge, Bora Lounge, boralounge.com. And I think Wangura has actually posted the link. So it's a collabo between the One Mic Show and Bora Lounge. For the World Cup, the Rugby World Cup that already started last Friday. So every weekend, if there's a rugby match, boralounge.com is live. And in addition to that, the man, the myth, the legend, for those of you can see, is right here behind me on this screen over here, will be running tomorrow, 1:07 boom. EST.
Pacific time.
Which is
4:07 Eastern time. 3:07 Central time. Mountain time atokwa kuna watu.
I don't know.
They can figure out what time that
Most
is.
important.
Yeah.
1:07 p.m. Pacific time.
Yes.
Ferdinand, the man, the myth, the legend. 9.66 is in trouble.
Then there's something I've noticed on the live stream. I can see Mary Mora. Please confirm if you're the Mary Mora who's the 800 meters champion who beat a thing. Was it a thing this, a thing that? Was a thing who? That American. I think Mu. Yeah. She was the favorite, but guess what, Mary Mora? If it's that Mary Mora who's tuned in, we also want to interview you. You know, because Mary Mora, I believe, is also going to be running this weekend. I don't know what time the 800 meters for women is going to be because there's so many other Kenyans who are running.
Yes.
There's Mary Mora, Faith Kipyegon is already in the house, and there's quite a number of other Kenyan runners who are out this weekend. So Mary Mora, please inbox the One Mic Show. We'd like to talk to you. That dance that you did, man, I was so happy. I was watching that race with an American friend of mine, and I was so happy because it was all about I think this, I think that, I think who, I think mu. But Mary Mora, alimpita na akaenda akashinda hiyo race. I really love this. This is so amazing. So that's another champ who's also tuned in on the One Mic Show. And then I can see Washeke is telling Mukurima that whatever he wrote claiming is Luhya is not even Kikuyu, it's Kirinyaga or Ndia. I believe those are other deeper dialects of Kikuyu. So Mukurima, you need to practice your Kiluya. You need to ask for a refund for whoever was teaching you that Luhya.
Mungu nyinyi watu, you guys
Estambulusa
si mkwe tu diplomatic.
Estambulusa amekuja na but I like Estambulusa because
I totally see Esther's question, but I'm feeling like it's
and
not a politician.
Of course, and this is not up to Omanyala, because her question is, what about buying fake IDs for our sportsmen and women? That's beyond our scope. When we interview a Babu, we're gonna ask him that question.
Ferdinand amecheka sana.
Or maybe I don't know whether Ferdinand maybe had something to say about that. Ama kama ni stories za mitandao.
Alikuwa
Stories za Jaba.
Alikuwa recipient.
No, I heard that story somewhere, and I looked at like people like just tumezoea kutype kwa social media without facts.
There you go. Okay.
I wonder where Adidas and Kenya zinaingiliana, because Kenya is signed with Nike, so there's no way a Kenyan athlete should wear an Adidas kit. So there's no way a government will buy a fake Adidas to give to their athletes who really know that wako signed to Nike.
And
so
this,
I think
thank you for that clarification.
Thank you for the clarification. And that's why I tell people, whatever you see on social media is not necessarily true. There's so many ways of verifying, and these stories sometimes they tend to gain traction because people sometimes like such messy stories because people enjoy them. And then I see Washeke saying Mary Mora, is that you, champ? Mary Mora, people are trying to find. I think it is you. And if it's you, Mary, we also want you, on the hot seat.
Facebook zurura.
Yeah, we nendo kazurure because we need to verify. Hatutaki iwe tena ni mtu mwingine tu ameingia kama Mary Mora, kama vile tuko na Robert Mugabe.
Ametengeneza hapa fake account
Sudo. Unajua kama vile tuko na Robert Mugabe vile wanaingia kwa streams za zingine. But anyway, and then let me see so Esther Mulusa is saying that story was in Parliament. And then another trick question here coming from Lawrence. Alfred Eyenga. Wachana na Lawrence. Lawrence will come back to it. But Alfred Eyenga is asking, can Qatar purchase you? Omanyala. Uko na bei.
Surely. Amekuja tu na nini?
Let me answer that question, because most comments, like nikipost, sometimes I post my own stuff. Most comments kiamsaa kwambia uende ubaiwe na Bahrain, ende ubaiwe na Qatar. Let me now explain how hard it is. So let me say I want to go and get that citizenship. So for me to get that citizenship now, I'll have to wait for 4 years without competing, without doing any races, go and stay in that country for the 4 years.
Wow.
And see that it's a guarantee that you'll get that citizenship. The World Athletics guys will have to monitor you while you're staying there. And then before they accept you to transfer your allegiance, you might not even compete again, because denounce citizenship of the other country. You have wasted 4 years of trying to get the allegiance of the other country. You're not competing, you're not making money, so you can imagine how much you're losing in changing your citizenship. So no, I'm not changing my citizenship.
Okay, you had it on the One Mic Show.
Categorical.
Yes, Omanyala is not changing his citizenship.
Fred hiyo swali tena.
Yeah, and there's actually
Fred ametumwa ka agent. Alikuwa mwana commission. Unajua mwana transfer za Saudi Arabia
alikuwa nangoja ka 1%.
Anaweza kula ka 10%.
Okay. Sasa. There's actually a Kenyan lady from Makueni County, Yavi. I can't remember her first name. I believe she's running for Bahrain. And I think we would love to talk to her just to know. She's very young, so I think she might have gone through this process from before. Because a lot of people don't know that. People just think that, Bahrain embassy calls you.
Qatar ni aje?
Wanakupatia do.
Naweza kimbilia next year.
Okay, all right. And then there was another question here before we move on from Lawrence Kihanya. He said, since they are representing the country, how do they get compensated? We have Harambee Stars players getting madhogodhaniot by the government. Now, we are going to get to that part where we'll be talking about compensation of athletes. So, Babahanya, stay tuned. For now, we want to go back to your story, Omanyala, and maybe I want you to take us back to when, you know, like you took us up to high school, ulikuwa ushapigwa ma suspension, nini, but we want you to tell us, you know, like what kind of sporting activity besides running away from your parents, what other kind of sporting activity
And getting suspended.
what other kind of sporting activity did you get involved in now, you know, like in primary, in high school, and you know, like, well, because running, everybody just used to run, but there's always that other sport that people used to play. So ni games gani ulikuwa unacheza, Omanyala?
Yeah, so I did a bit of volleyball in primary school.
Oh, interesting.
I did a bit of football in primary, but that was just for a few inter-school games, inter-county games. So when I came back, fast forward, I remember I was telling you the story of how I suspension and all that. So I go back, and that's how my sporting career started. So Form 2 third term, there was an inter-class rugby game, and it was Form 1s against the different streams, and then the winner plays the Form 2 in the finals. So we were doing a Form 2 inter-class rugby tournament, and the guys knew I was first in class because Yombio tulikuwa tunatoka kimbilia food DH. They knew I was fast. So these guys knew I was fast because of running for food in the dining hall. So I was given this chance of being a winger because they never had a winger. So my job was, they do a bit of miss ones. You know, miss one in rugby is when the ball gets off the rack or the set pieces, let's say a scrum. The scrummer throws the ball past two people. When it goes past two people, is a miss two. When it goes past one person, is a miss one. So the ball used to get out of the racks and the scrums, and then, or from the lineouts, and then it's like a miss one or miss two gets to me. My only job is to just catch that ball and run. That was my only job because I did not know how to sidestep. I did not know how to hand off. I did not know how to knock someone out. So my only job was get that ball and run into space. So that's what I did, and I took that class to the finals. And so after that, the rugby coach told me, I want to train you. And I said, yeah, of course. I need something to take off my time. I'm so idle. I'm getting into a lot of indiscipline cases. So he said, yeah. So let me train you, and let me get you to the best of, you know, get you into the school team. And I was trained. I was shown how to do side steps. I was shown how to use my speed. I was shown how to fake the passes, and I was shown how to, you know, knock people out, handoffs, which ball to run, how to touch the ball when you're running so that people don't judge your next move. So that all that I was taught through Form 3. And then I got into the school team in Form 4, and I was a wild winger. Like I was a very bad winger. I scored a couple of tries against Kakamega, although I tuchapa kwa quarterfinals of the regional games, but I scored a couple of tries, and that made me big. I got a call up to the under-20 Kenya Sevens.
Wow.
So
okay.
Yeah. So I was so excited for that venture, and my dream when I was playing rugby was to be a rugby star. I remember I had all the photos of Collins Injera, William Ambaka on my desk and on my boxes in the dorm, and I was just like, every time I go to class, I admire these guys. I say, I want to get that level. That was my dream in high school. So after high school, done with studies, passed my KCSE, and now we had come to Nairobi for the trials for the under-20, but sadly it didn't happen. So I had to reset everything because now that I'm not going to be an under-20 rugby in the rugby team anymore. So that didn't happen. I was so frustrated, but I said, it's okay. I have other ventures to venture in. So got into university. I was called to pursue Bachelor of Science in Chemistry in Chiromo campus, which I'm still doing that. And So when I joined university is when I joined rugby, the mean machine. I played the mean machine for some time, but now I realized the Kenya Cup level is completely different with the high school rugby, because these guys play rugby for money. Like they'll hit you, and they don't care who you are.
Utalimwa.
Yeah, these guys are big. These guys are like awesome manze.
So ulilimo.
Nililimwa mara kadhaa kwa training sessions. So I said, I can't do this. So I decided to like step down, and I joined one of the other teams and at the championship level. I joined a team called Stingers. It was a Mount Kenya University team. So I was going to train at Railways. So at Railways, we were training the other side. I mean, Mwamba were training there. So we were training at Railways, but tulikuwa tumepewa the uko try line uko place
uko kando
kadogo.
Uko kando.
The guys who were training at the main stadium, at the main field, were the kina Injera, Hayange. So every time I was going to training, I was like shocked. I'm seeing these guys live. Like, what? So every day I could go to training and I could want to see these guys. I just go to training because I want to see what these guys are doing. I really admire that life. So that's where I played a lot of rugby in the championship level. I was a most valuable player in a couple of tournaments, and I scored a couple of tries. Every game I was scoring not less than 2 tries. I was the tops. I was getting to that table where I was the most try scorer. Like, most try scorer, most valuable player. That was in 2016 now.
Okay.
So before the end of the season, that's when now I switched to athletics.
Yeah, now before we get to the athletics part, David Wagura here is asking, would you consider kitting up for Shujaa Kenya Sevens on the wing when you're not running? Or maybe when you're done running?
That's something that I'm really looking forward to, because I know unajua kwa track after maybe 8 years or so I'll start running like 10-3s. Unajua talent huisha, so nikianza kimbia 10-3 it will be very fast on the field but very slow on the track, so maybe we'll consider that.
Okay, sawa. So David Wagura, hiyo hapo kama wewe ni agent, maybe utakula ka 1% hapo.
Huyo anataka kits za Adidas huyo.
Yeah. And then you know, like I still see other you know, like comments coming here. Slay is asking, maybe you can talk on what you need to change so that we retain our athletes. That we're going to talk about later. And then Apa Kennedy Masiuko, karibu sana, is asking what motivates you, and is there any mechanism put in place to recruit more potential talent? And this we're also going to be talking about later in the show. So I think these people are reading. I like that our audience is reading ahead of the teacher. They already have these questions, you know. So by the way, sometimes I feel like maybe I need these audience members when we are prepping, when we are that block. Yeah? When tumefika block, maybe our audience wanaweza kutusaidia kucome up na question.
Kuna vitu si hatuwezi sema hapa sasa.
Mika unasikia?
Anyway,
kuna vitu hatuwezi sema sasa.
Sawa, nyuma ya tent. Now there's another question, an interesting question from Ndiba Wandungi. A question to Ferdinand Omanyala. Does track position matter? As in Budapest, you are on track 9 in the final. I have noticed you do well on tracks 4, 5, and 6, but the same track 9, Shakari, though the commentator noticed the very last seconds. I think she meant Shakari won when she was on lane 9.
Yes.
So so hii kitu ya lanes, is it, because I've also thought about it, is it just superstition, ama there's some science behind
there's
which
a formula.
lane? There's some lanes that have an advantage.
Kuna urogi fulani hiyo lane 9.
Ati urogi. Okay. Yeah, of course lanes matter, because I think all of my races this year have been lane 3, 4, 5, or 6. Not even this year, since last year when I was getting to the top. Because, you know, when you're running in the middle lanes, you can judge how fast the race is going. And that can spark something in you to run faster, because the fast guys are always given the middle lanes. So if you're in those lanes and you can see how fast this guy is moving, you can try and catch up, and that makes you run faster. But if you're in lane 9, it's like you're running alone. as much as most coaches and most people will say that run in your own tunnel, you want to be able to judge the pace of that field, because the guys were running faster, like way far after, like lane 4, 5. There's no way you're going to see these guys and you lane 9. So it's a disadvantage. As much as it's a straight 100 meters, that it has its own disadvantages, of which we at athletes we shouldn't be complaining. But again, getting a lane, like I got a lane 9 because I got in as a fastest loser from the semifinals. But it's up to me now to put in the times and run faster and get a better line in the final. So it matters, yes. And I'm glad that tomorrow I'm in lane 3. It's a very good lane.
Okay. All right. That's good.
But
That's
they
good.
Lyles inaonekana ataona tu moto.
Ataona vumbi.
Ataona zile spikes zinapewana.
Lyles, do you know who's besides you? Who's gonna be in 2 and who's gonna be in 4? Did you have
in
that?
2,
Yeah.
In lane 1 there's Blake. In lane 2 there's Akim Blake again from Jamaica. I'm in lane 3. Christian Coleman is lane 4. Lyles is lane 5. Tobago is lane 6. And then a Jamaican in lane 7. And a USA guy in lane 8. Germany in lane 9.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So
I mean,
3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay, getting so hyped up for this. Mike, you had a question.
No, I was just gonna say tomorrow. What time?
Tomorrow
107.
No, 107 Pacific time. 307 Central time.
407.
No, 307 Central time.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and then Eastern time is 407.
And people can also join where?
BoraLounge.com.
BoraLounge.com.
Yes. And it's also showing on NBC Sports and the Wonder Diamond League YouTube page, though I'm not sure if that's going to be live in the US because they sometimes block it in certain
kuna watu
countries.
wengi hawana NBC, so waingie Bora Lounge.
BoraLounge.com.
Yes.
Kama una cable, just go to BoraLounge.com
Ni wengi hawana.
and you'll be sorted. Now, Omanyala, now back to you. In as far as building your body for speed and endurance, nutrition is a key component that ensures your body is optimized for the task on hand. Now, one Mike has a question regarding your diet and maybe what to look for. Uno Mike twende kazi.
No, Ferdinand, I know diet, food, eating is crucial because even the way the food is prepared is very important. It's viungo vinavyotumika is important. There are certain foods that probably, I don't know. Let me preface by saying this. I remember one time when Michael Phelps was training. His eating session would take about 2,000. He would have to eat 2,000 calories in one sitting, just so that he can, I guess, get the energy to swim and be effective. Is that something that you athletes do? I mean, I'm sure there are certain foods you don't eat. There are certain foods that you're encouraged to eat. You probably have a timetable. I'm assuming you definitely have a nutritionist who tells you this is what you need to eat, this is what you need to eat. Maybe does your coach influence certain foods and tells you you need to do this because certain foods do this. They encourage to do this. Maybe it's something you can educate us on.
Yeah, we follow. I do have a nutritionist. So we have but I've been following a diet since last year. And before that, tunajua tumekuwa tunakula anything that's possible.
Mashakura.
Unakula tu bora upate cheap proteins hapo umena. But after that, we've like the start of this season, we've been following a diet. We've been working with a nutritionist, and that has really helped because I started running fast even in off season, which really didn't happen before. And of course, kuna food siezi kula, like foods with a lot of fat, and kuna zile specific mafuta specific nafaa kutumia kupika and all that stuff. So we need to balance everything. Kuna msali andika ati nakula mayai 10 asubuhi. That was a lie. I don't eat 10 eggs. I mean, 10 eggs, are you normal?
Msewa Manu. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so we just try and balance out everything, like have carbs in your diet, have proteins in your diet, and have those carbs that have, before training we do carbs that have those slow release of energy, so that at least you can have energy as you train through your hours, and then in between have smoothies and then go and have lunch. Lunch again, just make sure you have a very good gram balance of carbs, vitamins, fruits, and then mostly at 4 I always have groundnuts and macadamias and all that stuff that just you snack with the bio yogurts, not the normal yogurts. And then now have also supper, that which is also well balanced. Mostly lunch we always have, mostly it's rice, and we do with different types of legumes, and that's beans.
Legumes, biology.
Madondo.
Sorry. Okay. Ananirudisha back to bio. I'm trying to figure out what legumes are.
Kibandaski huyu.
Yeah, so that's what we do mostly for lunch, and then supper is always mostly tunakulanga ugali ama there's a mixture that my nutritionist came up with. Tuna mix nyama, mahindi, mushrooms, and then we cook them together. Sometimes we blend that and just have it with different breads, and maybe sometimes do that and have it with ugali. So it's a lot of things put together.
Okay, wow. And there's someone hapa Salishiro anasema nutritionist wake I hope sio Eshiranu la Chief Louis.